Today, we are going to make some grass. No, I'm not in Colorado, so it's not going to be that kind of grass. It's our techniques that are so simple and sensible, your miners have practically built themselves. Hello folks, it's Mad Dog Merv. Welcome to my 100th show. Woohoo! 100 of them. 100, well, that's between the goes from the chalkboard segment and the world of tanks. You're welcome. And the tips and tricks and techniques and the Mad About Trains and Mad Dog's muscle cars. You know, I just really enjoy doing this channel, and the whole idea, as you folks know, is to try and get you inspired. Try and show some things that maybe you'll take some techniques and go and try them out, or you'll go build that model you've been wanting to build, or just get out and do something and enjoy life. That's the whole idea about this channel, is enjoying life. Today, we're going to look a little bit at a little trip that Mark and I just recently took to a place called the Kennecott, well, around here we call it the Kennecott Copper Mine, but it's the Bingham Canyon Copper Mine, the largest open pit mine in the world. And it's, yes, we have claim to fame of something like that around here. But anyway, there's a little bit of an interesting history to it, and so we're going to kind of cover that in today's show. And stick with us, and thank you so much for being a part of our 100th episode. Today, well, I'm on my way to pick up Mark again. I don't know why he's always laying around. No, we're not going to pick him up from the ground. We're going to pick him up from his house, and we are headed out to the Bingham Canyon Copper Mine. We haven't been out on a tour of the new facility since the cave-in many years ago that closed the mine for a couple of years, and they quit doing tours. Well, just this last spring they started up doing tours of the open pit again, so we haven't been in at least a decade. So it's going to be interesting to see what's new, kind of relive some of that history. And today on the show, we're going to look at just a little bit of the history of Bingham Canyon and talk a little bit about that. So stick with us, folks, and let's take a look at the open pit copper mine out at Bingham Canyon, Utah. So in 1869, after taking pictures of the Transcontinental Railroad that was just being finished, A.J. Russell actually stopped out to the Bingham Canyon area and took this amazing picture of the first mine tunnel built for mining copper in the Bingham Canyon area. Just an amazing picture. Copper ore was first discovered in this canyon in 1848 by two brothers, Sanford and Thomas Bingham. They were grazing their cattle. They lived nearby there. They reported their finding to Brigham Young, who advised them against pursuing mining operations, because putting together settlements and getting those established and getting them thriving was of much more importance at that period of time to the people in the valley. The brothers eventually, they didn't stake claim to that, and eventually in 1850 they moved on to settle what is now Weber County. Mining activity in Bingham Canyon boomed after the Bingham Canyon and Camp Floyd Railroad was completed in 1873, and a town started to spring up through that canyon, and eventually the little town was incorporated in 1904, known as Bingham Canyon. Now, this town was very unique in that it was 7 miles long but only one street wide. It was absolutely amazing. This particular picture here was taken in like 1970, 71. And right square center in the middle, the kind of decorative looking building, was the old jail. And I remember as a young man, when my parents would drive out and we'd just go for a drive up the canyon, I remember seeing that building vividly. By 1971, the town
was gone and torn down, and they disincorporated in 1972, and the rest of the buildings were razed. And now today, well, this has been consumed by the mine. But a fun story from my family is my dad, back in the 30s and 40s, used to have to go retrieve his brothers, my uncles, from the seedy bars that were in Bingham Canyon, because I guess that's where the best seedy bars were. And he would get the call, being the sober one, to have to go and retrieve his brothers from the bars. So here we are today, out at a place that used to be called the little town of Lark. It was a little town that was built, it was a company town that was built for people that worked in the mine area. Anyway, it's right out by the Corner Canyon area, the Butterfield Canyon area. Here's some beautiful scrub oak in that area. Just kind of a neat little wild place, probably the last piece of wild place in Salt Lake County. Anyway, this is where you go to hop on a shuttle. And this shuttle bus takes you from kind of the bottom right corner area is where you would board this bus, and it takes you up and winds around the entrance to the mine. And the first shadowy area right in the center is about where the visitor center is today. So here's our view from the visitor center. We're looking north to west, and you can see these hills that have some foliage on it. Well, that's foliage that's been there a very, very long time. So that's part that the mine hasn't consumed. In other words, that's something that we might find in some of the old pictures. And here we are looking to the west towards the south, and whoa, there's that great big slide that happened a few years ago and devastated the mine. But they've got everything stabilized and they're back in operation again. On April 10th of 2013, 2 landslides came that moved nearly 100 million cubic yards of dirt, debris, rocks, at an average rate of 70 miles an hour down into the mine. It triggered 16 small earthquakes. Now keep in mind, this mine produces nearly 25% of the copper used in the United States. That slide lasted about 90 seconds, but closed the mine for a period of time. However, things were stabilized, they got back into operation, and it's now producing more copper than ever before. And they get a lot of other minerals out of there too, with this process that they use. And they use a very environmentally friendly, they reclaim the land, things such as that. There's a lot going on, a lot of good things going on at the Rio Tinto mine. It's now known as that. For many years as a kid, I used to just call it the Kennecott Copper Mine. Anyway, you cannot see the bottom of the mine anymore, which is really sad. After the slide before that, you could see all the way down there, but nope, not anymore. This is the view from the new visitor center that was just opened this last April. So one of the things I'm going to have to investigate are some of these areas. Now, you can look down. This is on the road coming up to the visitor center. And this flat area down below is part of where the town of Bingham Canyon used to be. It's all now mining operation. But you can see some of these outcroppings, as I said earlier, with some foliage on it. And I can pretty much guarantee that's some of the original areas, such as these, what you see here. I'm not sure exactly where this picture was taken, but I want to do some investigation and see if I can find where, or match up where those outcroppings were from some of the old pictures of the town. I'm trying to orient myself a little bit more. It's sad to come up here now and not see the town. You can see in this picture another outcropping, and I'm pretty sure I know where this was in some of the pictures, but again, I'm going to have to do some more investigating. I think it'll be fun to kind of do a then and now eventually of the Bingham Canyon area. So you'll notice on the left side of this picture up at the top, the terraces, and in some of these other pictures, all these terraces around the mine. And I remember as a young man watching the ore cars, or the ore trains, pulling the ore out of the mine. These terraces, they would put railroad tracks on. They would do their blasting. They would extract the ore, they would put it in the cars, then the cars would haul it out to be processed. And these terraces still remain today. So that's a great memory from back in the day for me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the mine. So coming up here in the next few months, we're going to be looking at the Salt Lake City Airport because there's a very significant thing happening out there and a significant anniversary coming up. And also to do with aviation, we're going to be looking at something that's very interesting. Several places here in Utah have them, and that's these arrows, these big concrete arrows just out in the middle of nowhere. And we're going to investigate those. We're going to talk a little bit about them and why they're there. So thanks for joining us for our 100th anniversary show.